I am Bianca de Jesus, and I am the learning manager on the TEDx team. And this is our hangout about using social media as your second stage. Social media holds so much potential for celebrating your TEDx talks and your local community at the end of the day, right? So here to talk through some examples, we have with us here Humberto from TEDx Blumenau in Brazil. We have Aylin from TEDx Tucoy in Peru, and Tanya from TEDx Varese in Italy. So from sharing creative posts on Instagram or some really great speaker recaps, each of these teams have done a lot to share with the world about how to build a strong social media presence and engage attendees before, during, and after your TEDx event. So it's not only on the day of or in the lead up, but it's really all year round. So for the first part of this hangout, for the structure, this is what we're going to do. We're going to dive into one example of a social media strategy with each of these guests, and then we'll have a conversation amongst the four of us to dig even deeper into the examples that we're sharing. And then after that, we'll open up to a Q&A with all of you, where you're able to ask them questions about their examples or even share some ideas of your own. So Humberto, I'm really excited to talk through this example. Your team uses the close friends feature on Instagram in a really unique way. So first, I'm going to share what a close friends is, for those of you who might not know. So on Instagram, there are stories, which are temporary pieces of content which can stay posted for 24 hours. And typically, those are viewable by all of your followers. But within that, there's a feature for just close friends where you can select a specific group of people that you want this short message or this 24-hour temporary message to go out to. So with all of that said, your team gathers the social media handles, right, of all of the people who are attending your TEDx event. And then you add them to this close friends so that they could get exclusive. Well, I don't want to give away too much. I'll pass it over to you. Can you tell us about what's happening in this photo and how your team uses your close friends?
Sure. So just a little context for us to begin. The last 2 years, we weren't able to hold an in-person event. So we had somewhat of a hybrid format. And we were really struggling at the beginning to like, what are we going to provide to our sponsors? They don't have like a space so they can make an activation. They can set up an experience, nothing like that. So just there's way too many screens already in a live event. So one of the ideas that we came up with was to ask people when they bought our tickets to give us their Instagram handle if they wanted to. We got all of that into our close friends, and we decided to have some content avenues inside our close friends. So everyone that bought tickets gets to know firsthand who the speakers of the event are going to be. That's like the basic first thing we decided to do. And then this format started to evolve alongside like 1 year and a half that we have been doing this. It worked so well last year that this year we're going to be holding an in-person event, but we kept the close friends because everyone loved, the sponsors loved it, the attendees loved it. So we have somewhat of a schedule, and each and every sponsor can send us content to post on our close friends for our attendees. We talk to them, we try to explain what we're aiming for here, so it's not like extremely commercial content from them, but our attendees get invited to parties, they get discount codes. I remember last year we talked about an adoption fair and people went there and adopted pets. Actually, we were super happy about that. But everything that we allow our sponsors to do, we make sure we do it ourselves also. So the screens, the images you're seeing is when we started producing our own content from close friends. The theme from our event last year was talking to strangers. So we decided to take it to the next level and have 2 strangers cook. So we got someone from our team and we got someone that bought a ticket to TEDx, selected at random. We made sure they didn't know each other. We got them into a chef space, a kitchen space where people hold courses and things like that. And we had a professional chef teach them how to make a dish. They watched the chef prepare the dish and they had to reproduce the dish. We were posting bits and pieces of it on the close friends, and the full video released on the day of the event. So we use it for this mix of things. We use it to help generate a little FOMO on people because we post on the general stories that we are posting content firsthand on the close friends, so people want to be there. And we make sure that the close friends is stacked not only with content from the sponsors, but with cool, nice things that we came up with.
Yeah.
Every year we have the goodie bag here also. So a close friends is also the place where the attendees get to see all the stuff they can get into their goodie bags on the day of the event.
Yeah, that's super cool. And yeah, I can imagine the FOMO because as I mentioned to you, when I see this, it's like I immediately want to be in the close friends. I want to be in the loop and I want to attend your event. Could you share with us, so something special about today's Hangout, all of the content will not be in English that we're posting. So I'm curious to know, what does this content say on here?
On the left, it says, what recipe do you think they're gonna do? And on the right, it says, we're preparing something unexpected. You're going to see all the backstage here.
Yeah, that's awesome. So that's another cool thing that you've done is add this sticker here to kind of garner participation from the people and your close friends to say, like, take a guess and to guess what people are cooking. Did anyone guess it correctly?
No, we would actually gift the person if someone had guessed it correctly, but no one did. So
What did they make? Just out of curiosity.
They had a steak with chocolate sauce.
Oh, wow. That sounds awesome. That sounds super cool. So in what ways have you seen the close friends enhance your community engagement leading up to your event?
The amount of interactions we get on close friends is sometimes way bigger than the one we get on our usual page. And I think it also creates a more direct and private channel where the attendees know that we are there, we are listening, we are willing to talk, we are willing to listen to them if they had a difficulty buying tickets or something like that. So I think that besides everything we talked about, we also created a new channel for people to communicate with us directly and we know they are our attendees for that year. We hold them there until we start selling tickets for the event on the next year. So the attendees from last year were on our close friends until like 2 months ago when we started selling the tickets for this year.
Okay, and that makes a lot of sense too, just in terms of that continuity. It's not only on, like in the lead up to the event or on the day, but they kind of have a whole year's journey with your team, which even then builds excitement for the next year.
Yeah, and also helps because we said, hey, this close friends is ending in 5 days when we start selling tickets, so you need to buy the ticket again, and people went and bought again.
Oh, that's so funny. That's awesome. That's super cool. And then I know you mentioned really quickly that you do something with your partners as well within the close friends. Could you share with us the way that you interact with your partner content there?
Sure. We each of our sponsor fees to sponsor the event has an amount of close friends they can use every month. So like a silver sponsor can send us one content per month that we're going to post on close friends. There is some talk, some back and forth between us and the sponsor, so it's nothing like 100% commercial. Sometimes it happens, but we try to avoid it at the maximum we can. And pretty much this year it's pretty stacked. So like every 2 days or so, there is sponsor content on our close friends for people to enjoy, to see, to go, and things like that.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's so cool to hear about. And I think this close friends feature is such an interesting thing to utilize. And I hadn't heard of it before, but maybe it's just because I haven't been in any events close friends yet. So I'll be keeping an eye out for that. Thank you so much, Humberto.
Thank you.
Awesome. So now we're over to Aylin. So good to have you on the call. Hi, Aylin.
Hi, everyone. How everyone is doing?
Awesome. Good to see you. So your team used illustrations, not only to help visualize your TEDx events as they were taking place, but you also use the illustrations on your social media. Can you tell us about what we're looking at in this photo?
Yeah, so this is a summary of Gabriela Vega Franco's TED Talk. She's a fantastic political scientist, and as we all know, sometimes politics can be a very hard topic for people to be willing to play a 20-minute talk about it. So, and we, as an organization, we make tons of effort to trying to pick the best projects to be highlighted, and we want people to understand everyone. We have even topics about science and energy and very hard topics to understand, and we want a child to understand everything that somebody is talking about.
It's great that your team has created these illustrations, just as you said, to simplify more complex topics, but also that these illustrations had use beyond the day of your event. So I see here on the right, your team posted them on Instagram, and then on the left, we see them in your Instagram story, which is nice because then people can repost the image, especially if they were there to watch the talk and kind of relive some of those ideas and spread those ideas even further.
I think not only the people is sharing it, but also the speaker itself. Gabriela loved this actually, because her talk her talk is about democracy, and she didn't want to make the point just to make a class about political science. She just wanted to share how her family, because that in the picture is her dad. She talks about how her dad is help her understand how in a dining room, you are employing democracy. People is willing to listen to each other with respect and willing to talk. And she uses that example on how she faces her organizations and the things that she's doing right now. And she wanted to make things as light as possible. So that's why, and she loved these illustrations. She shared with her own community. So in terms of metrics, not only help us, because everybody who sees this in our feed loves what they are seeing and is able to share it. So this kind of post gets a lot of comments and shares and else, but also on her own community. She shares across, and people so the kind of the reach amplifies more.
Right, that's really cool. Can you translate a bit of this so we can have a sense of some of the notes here?
Yeah.
I know it's in Spanish.
Here on the left, she says that her biggest learning from her dad is to be willing to talk, to have a discussion. Along her dad, she learned how to understand that conflict and discrepancy can be resolved easy through a talk. Nothing has to be, democracy can be uncomfortable, but we need to learn how to make ourselves to put limits and to be willing to share power and respect our differences. That's kind of what it says.
Oh, wow. So that's beautiful. And it's so nice that your team was able to capture it in this way. I know that we also have another photo here. So your team also extended the illustrations beyond just the illustrations that were done of the speakers' talks, and even put it on your swag, which could also be used as promotion for upcoming events. Could you tell us about these photos?
Yeah. So again, for a little bit of context, again, as Humberto, we are still not able to have a massive event that we did not So we're looking for ways for people to know not only, and we are to have the not only to not have the events on physically has impacted us done, because a lot of the content usually was being done in place, but now we cannot get together. So we wanted to make ways to people that share on their own space. So every attendee, we send them a small package that we usually will invest on a physical event. We will send them a package, or not only with goodies or for the sponsors, but also from our side. So we were thinking that if people will walk around with something that remind them of us, it will have to be something from us. So we contact a lot of here, the illustrator who does this is Wonder Taku actually. He helped us to make a kind of a point across. He helped us a lot with, because here's a person who's having her heart like close to him. So it's kind of a thing that we wanted to make, a point that we want to make across.
Oh, that's so beautiful. And the really cool thing too is that, okay, so to back up, you sent these bags to everyone who attended your event, even though it was a virtual event?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So they literally got goodie bags in the mail?
Yeah, kind of.
Wow. And then for those, what's really cool is that people are able to then share them on Instagram. As we saw, people are posting them. They're excited to, again, like
Yeah.
loop, and then your team is also able to use that content as well to garner even greater participation.
Yes, yeah, that at the end creates a community.
Mhm.
People who is more willing, even if you just go to the market and just pick up need a bag to put your things on, you pick up that thing and you remind yourself of TEDx and how they treated you and what is the experience that you had in there.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much, Aylin.
Thank you.
So over to Tanya. Tanya,
Hello.
so glad that you've joined us today.
Thank you for the invite.
Of course. So you and your team have a great way to continue to promote your events, talks, and your speakers after the event is over. Can you tell us more about that and what we're seeing in this photo here that we're going to pull up?
Okay, so here we have two examples of communication before the event and communication after the event. So the first image on the left, basically what we do is to provide our speakers with a media kit containing a card. It's the card that you see here with the picture of the speaker and some information and the topic of the talk and the TEDx Varese logo, as well as some information to remind them. The media kit contains some information to remind them about the event, the date, and some key information regarding the topic of the events that maybe they want to communicate. So we provide them with that. And a lot of time, for example, not only the speakers, but even other stakeholders, for example, the research center in which the speaker works is going to share the speaker cards and some information about the event on their social media. So it's a great boost for promoting the event before the event. While with regards to the communication after the event, we always try to push a little bit the old TED Talks that we had. So for example, we pay a lot of attention to news regarding our old speakers. So for example, Mario Calderini was named one of the most influential researchers from the platform Apolitical, which is a platform that helps the government and to find a new solution for new challenges that they face. And so it was a really big news regarding the speaker. So we decided to repost the news together with the TED Talk of the speaker. And so you just have no idea of the amount of new views and that we had on the talk, as well as on our website. It really helps boost the views on the website and people that start to looking at the website, etc. So it's a great way to this strategy. It's a bit tricky because you really need to pay attention of the news. Maybe sometimes we even post, there are some hot topics that are really interesting in that moment, and we try to see if one of our speakers really talk about that in the past. So for example, think about when COVID started and smart working became a reality. We had a TED Talk in 2018 from one of our speakers that really talked about how smart working could potentially change our lives. And then with COVID, it became a reality. So we try to boost that talk by resharing it on our platform. So this really helps to keep, not to forget about all TED Talks, you know.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to stay up to date with what your speakers are doing, because I'm sure they've done amazing things since speaking at your event. And then also to drive attention back to these talks and these important ideas, you can continue to share the links throughout the year, because you have all of this, all these great ideas and great talks that people can still see. Even after the event is done, it doesn't necessarily mean, you know, the talks don't have to be shared anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
And I also saw well, I have a few things that I want to get to here. But first, could you translate a bit of this? I know it's in Italian. Could you let us know what's going on in these photos?
Yes, so the first picture on the left, it says the value of social innovation. It's at the center of the speech of the talk of Mario Calderini on the TEDx Varese event. And it tagged Polimi, which is Tiresia Polimi is the research center of the Polytechnical of Milan. Mm-hmm. Then on the right, it says, we said that our speaker, Mario Calderini, was named among the 100 most influential researcher for the platform Apolitical. We explained what the Apolitical platform is, which is a platform for governments to try to find new solutions for problems that they face. And then we said at TEDx Varese, he talks about how to help to defend the sustainability and how it is important. So, and we said you can see its talk here on the link. So this is how we try to communicate a little bit.
Yeah, that's great. And I see too that you're utilizing different social medias. So on the left, we have Twitter.
Yeah. Yes.
On the right, I believe this is Facebook. And
it's
then
LinkedIn. It's LinkedIn.
Oh, it's LinkedIn. Okay. Yeah. And then as far as your Instagram too, I know that your team also will put descriptions in the bio or in the beneath the photos that also link out to the bio that say, okay, our link is the bio for the talks. And then if you go to the bio, you have all of the talks there that someone can view.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a great strategy. And also nice to see utilizing so many different platforms. LinkedIn, we have Twitter, Instagram. These are all tools that are available for virtual promotion as well. Great. Now I'm going to pull up Aylin and Umberto so we can dig even deeper into some of the things that we've talked through. But before we do, so I just kind of want to center us a bit to tie us all back into our common goal, right? So our goal is, of course, to share ideas worth spreading. So as the TEDx organizer, you know that that's your mission and that's what your teams do to really focus on your local communities and sharing ideas that are from there. So the way that social media really ties into all of that is these are channels for you to connect with your local communities, and you can really drive people to ideas that matter and make an impact in your areas, but also throughout your country, throughout the world. I know I spoke to Aylin about this a little bit earlier today, that the purpose of this social media goes beyond just sharing, right? It's not just for the purpose of like, oh, I just want to post, I just want to share these, this amazing swag or these illustrations. The point is really to drive people back to the ideas, to people who attended the events, to kind of give them that sensation of what it felt like to hear the ideas for the first time, but also for people who haven't heard the ideas at all, that are maybe listening in for the first time and just expanding their mind to something new, to something new. So these talks are important and you put so much effort into them. So it makes a lot of sense to also repurpose that content and continue to use it throughout the year, which leads to my first question here for each of you is, could you share with us your thoughts on repurposing content from your events throughout the year and the specific strategies your team has to do that? I will pass it over. Let's see. I think maybe Tanya, since we spoke about this a little bit, could you share any other ideas that your team has for this? And then we'll pass it over to Umberto and Aylin.
Okay, so another strategy that we had is to really boost the talks of the last event when TEDx decide to put the video on the YouTube channel. So we try to promote each talk again. I know it may sound a little bit of a repetition, but it really helps to get more attention about the last event that we had. So this is one of our strategy. And then, as I said before, we really pay attention about hot topics or news in order to be able to reshare all the TED Talks again.
Yeah, no, that's a really great strategy. And just as you said, maybe it feels repetitive from your side because your team is in the weeds and has been there for the practices and has seen this talk probably several times. But the general public likely hasn't seen these talks, so it's important to get to those people who haven't.
Exactly. Maybe sometimes there are people who did not get their ticket on time, so they could not participate to the event. So it's really a reminder to people that follow us. Okay, here are the talks, you can see them right now. Okay.
Right. Yeah, that's a great idea. And then for people who just come across you, right? So not even people who are already part of your current community, but if they stumble upon your Instagram or someone else shares it with them, they know what's going on and they have a sense of the kind of topics that your event covers. That's a great idea. And what about you, Humberto? What does your team do to repurpose content?
We do something very similar that Tanya just said. Like, we also pay attention to what's happening around us to repurpose like tidbits of our talks and talk about stuff that we feel it's relevant to the platform. But what's something that we also like to do is, like, we have our own video team inside our bigger team, and we have after movies of every event. Every time we go somewhere, we have recordings of everything. We do something with the sponsors, we record and release videos of that. So we have like a huge archive of things. So we're probably going to launch our women event soon, and we're probably going to use footage from the last women events to sort of give people the atmosphere that they can hope for, that they can expect on our next event. So I think that a lot of how we use social media and content from past events is tied to what we have recorded and how can we share it in a new way so people can feel something of that event like right now.
Yeah, that's a great idea. And I know that you shared the after movie with us. We have it here and we can drop that link in the chat too. I think it's really exciting to see what's going on with your event. But yeah, that's a great point too. I know that you mentioned, as far as the after movie, that your team at some points are able to edit it really quickly so that it's able to be out pretty much within 24 hours. Could you talk about that approach and why it's important to be timely when you can?
That TEDx Blumenau Women event was really special because there were two things that happened on that event. The first one is that we finished the event, we packed everything, we went somewhere else so we could talk and we could like hang out and rest a little bit. And our video team was like frenetically working and editing the video, and we released it on Instagram on the same day. So people that were there started sharing, and our reach that day like just exploded, and it was really good. And something else that happened on the same event was that we released a very small early bird ticket for TEDx Blumenau that would happen like a couple months from there. So on that day, people from our city, from Blumenau, had a ton of stories from people sharing the video, but also sharing tickets. And people started asking us, so when did you release tickets? Why is everyone talking about tickets? I want tickets. So it was really nice having like both those things happen at the same time. We had a really, really big presence when we started mapping out stories from people that we didn't even know in the city here.
Yeah, that's so cool. And I'm sure for the people who attended too, they were probably excited to see themselves in the videos as well, which led them to want to post them. They're like, oh, this is this cool thing that I just did. And again, kind of create that FOMO.
Yeah, it happens a lot when we release like the Flickr album, but it definitely also happens on the video.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And over to you, Aylin. What are some ideas that your team has for repurposing content that you've created?
Well, same as Tanya, Humberto, we also pay attention to any special days that we can release some related content on that. We try to exchange, so not every special day comes out the same talk. We try to shift things up a bit. And also the Flickr album for creating a little bit of FOMO help us a lot. But now, since we are only digital, things have been changing a bit. One of the things that we have been doing is, from the moment that the speaker is doing the talk to the moment that the talk is released, it's going through a couple of months, editing and curating, etc. So the moment that it is released, we make sure that the speakers of the same event, they try to reshare the content as well of the partners of their same event, because they all go through the same experience, trying to stand up and talk to a big audience. about their own special projects that for many of them is like babies. So they all share this common experience, and so they are more willing to reshare it to their own community as well. So we have, so that's one of the things that kind of in the sense of repurposing that we do. So even we try to make them special media kits for them. So we try to have this like a photo of their a key phrase that they said, a key point that they made in an image, and we shared it to them. They usually share it to their own communities. We use that also to repurpose it in another times that we would like to share their content again, a special day, in just to as an always on strategy for social media, etc.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense, right? Because I'm seeing like a common theme of your teams all post the content, right? But then you lean a lot on your communities to also share it with their own circles to continue to expand your reach. So you have your speaker community, of course, you have your community of attendees, and each of those people also have their own networks. So you can lean on them also to share a lot of that content. That makes a lot of sense. And then I'm going to go over to our next question here, which is my last one to ask all of you, and then we'll relay questions from everyone. I see the chat is bustling and there's a lot going on there, so we'll make it quick. What is the single biggest learning that each of you have about social media promotion? So I often say, if you had a mic to the whole community to share, this is your mic. What is the one biggest takeaway that you've had so far? We can go with, it looks like Humberto might have something to say here.
I think the biggest takeaway we learned over the years is to have a dedicated and specialized team doing our social media channels and all of them. It really helps that we have an amazing and big team of video volunteers also, but our social media team is extremely able to do what we plan, and they have amazing ideas. Close friends came from our digital team, for instance. So we have a big team here in TEDx Blumenau. We have like about 60 people in our team, all volunteers, and our digital team is about 10 people. So having these people that are 100% focused on our presence in Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, Twitter, all of the different handles we have at the moment, really made us go to the next level, like audience-wise, reach-wise. We reach way more people now. There's way too many people way too many things that we have to worry about, and not having to think about our social media and know that it's being done really well. It helps a lot with the planning overall, I think.
Yeah, I agree. So having a specialized team to work on it, especially like you said, if you want to get videos out quickly, or, at the same time as other efforts from your team, it makes sense to have people that are specifically working on promotion.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Okay, what about you, Tanya?
So my biggest takeaway would be to not be afraid, because sometimes, a lot of the time, above all when you are at the beginning with social media, you stress out a little bit about finding the right strategy. But really, like, the best way to do it is just to try things. And then social medias are really democratic, so you will see if something worked or did not work. So yeah, so do not be afraid, and really try to test out things so that you can find a few good strategies that you will implement over time once you gain more experience,
I agree. Yeah, social media can feel really intimidating, particularly for people who don't use it often. But as you can see, these are strategies largely which are free in some senses, that your teams can use to really get your foot in the door on social media.
Yeah.
Great. Over to you, Aylin. What do you
Other than trying and not being afraid of making a mistake, I think my biggest takeaway is to always take care of your community, not only in community in the sense of people who is interacting with you on social media, but also not remember who is the ones who have been past attendees, people who has been enchanted by the whole event and what we represent or what we are doing. Community always appreciates the effort that is being done on them, on them and for them. So, for example, the illustrations that you guys saw earlier, that came out of our community because we were looking for ways to trying to make people to expand the content for everyone in a very different way. And somebody just volunteer, I can do this illustration, I can do this. If you want to make this, I can do it. I can do it in 1 week, in 2 weeks. So our community always helps us, and yeah, always help us to reach things further. Even though we don't have a large team, we have a community that always help us to go through on things.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have some great tips here. One is to have a specialized team, also to cherish your community, because I think that's where you start and that's what you do it for. And then we have Tanya's idea here of just not to be scared and to just jump in and go for it. So thank you three for that wisdom. So we've gotten through our questions for today. Thank you all for all of the ideas that you shared with us. It's been great to hear from each of you and see how much creativity exists amongst all of you. If you have any questions, as always, feel free to reach out to us at TEDx@TED.com. And I just want to thank all of the guests that we had here today. Humberto, Aileen, Tanya, so great to see all of you, and thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with all of us.